people? In what way? What can we do to reach more people? Knowing that a lot of people are going through challenges in their marriages. And that was how we found ourselves. That was how we came about hosting the family meeting. But before that, what we do at the Center for Sex Education and Family Life is go to schools. We go to schools to take children on sex education and educate them on the beautiful things about, and educating them on how to live good life. We do sex education, we do emotional intelligence, and every other thing that our children need. And we thought speaking to our children alone will not work. We also need to speak with the parents, because if you don't speak with the parents, everything you're teaching the children, the parent will keep sabotaging it. Because if the parent is not changed and the child is willing to change, they might not be able to get a good result. And so that was how we started the online, and every last Saturday family meeting. And here we are, the 5th year. So today, being the month of February, the month of love, the month which we celebrated Valentine, we will be talking about love. We have heard so many times people say love is not enough, love is not enough. Yeah, love is not enough. And that was how we coined the theme, the topic, love beyond emotions. Love beyond emotions. Why feelings start relationships, but structure is only structure that can sustain it. Feeling may start relationship, but they are not strong enough to sustain them. People start relationship, people are doing lovey-dovey and all that, and before you know it, when stress rises, expectation clashes, and life gets busy. The only thing that holds relationship steady is what? It's not the love, because already love is, there are times you even, I've been married before. So yeah, people say we are not supposed to be talking about marriage because we are divorced. I've been married before and I understand it. And like I told you, I work with divorced people. We ask them, oh, and it's the expectations. It's the expectations that we have of our marriages that put us in that state of divorce. And I have worked on the journey of divorce for 14 years, and I know that divorce is not always the solution. It's not always the answer. And that is why we decide to say, let's do this. Today, I have Ololade Idowu as my co-host, and she will be moderating this meeting. And so, admin, could you please spotlight Ololade? Admin, please spotlight Ololade. And as we do that, I am joining the meeting from another device, and I want you to transfer into that device. Please change my device.
Good evening, Dr. Ebo.
Good evening.
Such an honor to be here with you, Ma. Good
So
evening,
nice.
everyone.
It's so nice to have you here.
Looking forward to a very insightful moment at this family meeting. It's the month of love, and love is still in the air.
Love is still in the air. Yeah, I agree with you. And so, as we start this conversation, what do you have to tell the audience about love? I know you came up with that topic of the core of love, and we broke it down to arrive at this. So, please
Yes.
tell me, what does core of love stands for in your head?
Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Ololade Idowu Adegoke. Idowu Adegoke is a compound name. So, like we said, February is the month of love. Yes, and everything love stands for. Unfortunately, I'm a love baby because this month is actually my month. Precisely 14th of February is my birthday. So you can imagine how I came up with the core of love. So what is this thing about love? Love has been so much misinterpreted. For a lot of us, the definition of love that we have or that was passed down to us is, the chemistry, the feelings, and like Dr. Ebon earlier said, is that's always enough? But when we said the feelings, the chemistry is not enough. So what exactly is the core of this love that we are talking about? For most of us, people of faith here will say, oh, 1 Corinthians 13 defines love, is patient, is this, is that. We'll go through all of that. Is that really the core of love? What's love between a man and a woman? What's love between the father and the child, the mother and the child? Love for humanity, love for your neighbor. What is the core of love? Must it always be the feelings, the mushiness, or is there more to it? And that's why we are here today, to learn, to know what this love actually is, and how we can build the love that is enough, the love that can carry us and sustain us into generations. Thank you. Dr. Ebon, you're muted. We can't hear you. You're muted, ma.
Okay, yeah. Corrected it now. So I said, thank you very much, Ololade. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, talking about love. It's going to be mushy today because I see Odufa, and I see Odufa Boro, and I see one Femi Boro. So it is possible that Odufa has come to this meeting with her husband. Please, so I hope you are not going to be peppering us today, Odufa. So thank you very much. Admin, can you please spotlight Odufa as we start this conversation? So Odufa, nice meeting you again.
Good evening.
And
good evening,
good
Doctor.
evening.
Good evening, Ololade. It's great to be here. I don't intend to pepper anyone at all.
Yeah, peppering us already.
I'm sorry I didn't get the memo on the call. I should have gotten my red on.
Right?
Yeah. My glasses stands for that.
So you are covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much. While we wait for Miracle, Open Miracle will join us soon. What is Odufa's husband saying? No?
You are the one that started it, so he was there quietly.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Ololade, I want you to let's start this conversation. While you ask,
I see Miracle just joined in.
Oh, okay. So, admin, could you please spotlight Miracle?
Miracle, for a moment, I was like, you want to leave me hanging.
So sorry. Good evening, everybody.
Welcome.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Ololade, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ebon. Good to have you here, Odufa and Miracle. Before we dive into the questions, let me first ask, how was Valentine? It's the month of love. Dr. Ebon.
Are you sure I'm the right person to?
Because you're still representing and you're the one flashing the red in our eyes.
I'm the one. Okay, so I got a beautiful gift from my daughter.
Oh,
my daughter is 21. So I got a beautiful gift from my daughter for Valentine. And you know why that gift was so cherished? It was because I wasn't even at home. So I just told her that I have an event on the island and that I will be sleeping over at a friend's house. Of course, she knows that friend. And so while my friend got the Valentine's gift around 7 a.m., around 8:39, she said, there's a message for you. And I came downstairs and I saw, Now, wow, is this how it is doing people?
Yes,
If I really, really, really,
that's
really
so
special.
sweet and so
Really,
thoughtful.
really, yeah,
That's
very,
so
very.
sweet
So,
and so
so it was a
thoughtful.
beautiful one for me.
Well done, Ma. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great
Nice. That's
Thank you.
lovely.
job.
Thank you.
Odufa, do you want to give? Don't pepper also. Don't pepper also. Just a glimpse. No peppering, no pressing of neck.
But Valentine was awesome. Like I wasn't born in February, but I love love. I love any opportunity to celebrate love. I'll take it. Right. So I had a great Valentine. Of course, my husband, my children. I bought gifts for my husband and my children. I have 2 boys. So I just felt like until they grow up, I'm the woman in their life. And I wanted to understand that love is not just romantic, that love is what we think of each other, the value we place on one another. So it was really nice. And I got to go out. So it was nice.
It's nice. Thank you for being an intentional parent there. And that's part of what we are talking about here today. We are not just showing them love is mushy, is feelings. We're showing them the structure, the way love is being done. You see, and I can tell that is why Dr. Ebu is also benefiting from the years of, being intentional with her daughter. And now she can take initiative of, no, it doesn't always have to be mommy giving me. I should do something for this woman who is so special to me and make her feel so. Okay, I'll still tell you about my own, but let me hear what Miracle has to say about Valentine.
Pastor Miracle.
Oh, okay.
Valentine. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So
We can
surprisingly,
hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I was saying that as against popular opinion, Valentine for me was very, very regular. Somehow there was nothing extra, except that, of course, reached out to loved ones, and a few loved ones reached out to me as well. Basically, but there was nothing really out of the ordinary that happened on Valentine's Day. Hopefully we do better next year.
Miracle, I'm sure there's no pressure. There's no pressure.
Exactly. It keeps getting better, no pressure. Even that your life is a gift of love.
Yeah.
It's a gift of love that you're alive, you're here, you have people to call, loved ones to celebrate with, that's even more than enough, and it gets better. Okay, so for me, like I said, Valentine's Day is actually my birthday. So that alone is even enough gifts that God decided to just throw me onto this planet on that special day.
Oh, wow.
But surprisingly too, I wasn't expecting it because that day I had a virtual book launch of my first book. So I wasn't even doing anything about birthday. I wasn't thinking of birthday. But surprisingly, my little son, because I don't know how he kept on saying, Mommy, I want to do something special for you. And I asked him, okay, go and do now. He said, give me money. I said, but whose money? You want to use my money to do something special for me? I just ignored him. So I thought nothing. I wasn't even thinking of anything. But that day came and he presented a birthday cake and a balloon bouquet to me. And I'm like, oh, even though it was filled with chocolate, things that he will eat, not things that I will eat. But the thoughtfulness, like, oh, and I'm like, good, you're 11, you're already thinking, oh, this woman is indeed special, I should give her something. Then, like I said, in family house, I believe that we must be doing something right. So if you're on this meeting today, and today is your first time here, you are in the right place. That is where I'm going to. We learn, we unlearn, and we relearn. And we are not learning just for us. We are learning for generations. We are changing patterns. We are shifting culture. So I would want you to be very attentive to everything that will be said here today, and at least take 1 or 2 things away that you would do differently in your family, that you will pass down to your children. And that becomes the culture. and how love is being sustained in families. Having said that, let me go straight. Let me dive into why we are here today. Is love enough? What's the core of love? Who should I start with? Should I start with Miracle? Should I start with Odufa? Okay, so I go with Odufa. Ma'am, the question I have for you on this topic is, when in a marriage or in a relationship, let's not just target so marriage, in a relationship, when emotions fluctuate, which obviously would happen, you know, today it's high, tomorrow you're just there, next tomorrow it's flat. When emotions fluctuate between couples, what should they rely on instead? What keeps it going when emotions are not there? When it's fluctuating, what should they rely on?
All right, thank you so much, Ololade, for that question. So the question is, when emotions fluctuate, what should couples rely on in that moment? Yeah, so I wish we started from, okay, I'll just dive into it. All right, so what you now depend on in that moment, because feelings can be fickle, as in they can change, from time to time based on certain factors or happenings around, and we know that life happens a lot. So when feelings begin to fluctuate, it means that you're not feeling that lovey-dovey way that you felt maybe at some point, or that those butterflies in your tummy, the spark, the passion. You rely on your shared values and what you intended to build from the beginning, because there's a reason why you came together, and that's why it's important that's why we're talking about things like this, love beyond emotion, because when two people come together, the feelings alone, that spark, that chemistry is not enough to sustain the relationship. You need to be able to determine, why have we come together? Have a sense of direction. Where are we heading to with this relationship? Do we plan to get married? If we get married, what kind of family do we want to build? And so when those feelings of those sensational feelings, begins to fluctuate, you are relying on what it is that brought you two together in the first place, and what it is what direction you are heading into. That's your vision. And then you're also relying on the values that you place on each other, and the value that you place on the relationship, and the values that you have imbibed as a couple, together. Those are the things you rely on, the intent rather than the feeling, like the intention for why you were put together in the first place, for why you people started the relationship. You rely on, even past memories can help, because even in the moments where there's maybe financial pressure, maybe there's conflict, you just being able to remember where you are coming from and the things that you have shared together, can actually help, boost your commitment to stay, even when those feelings are fluctuating. Because feelings do fluctuate, but the capacity to stay, the staying power, comes with what that you are building together. And that's where I feel compatibility comes in, because if you are just doing your relationship based on chemistry, based on feelings, based on how you feel, it's not sustainable. But when you are now working based on your belief system, where you want to go to, your shared values, your responsibilities, and the vow that you have made to each other, that's if you are married, or the commitment you have made to each other if you are single, that's where you draw your energy from there. Because if every time our feelings fluctuate and we want to get out of the relationship, no relationship will be in existence right now. So I think that's what I can say for that.
Thank you so much, Odufa, for that answer. And that's what she has said has touched on so many things. And I just hope that we all have our pens and papers with us, and we're taking down the nugget from this discussion. She has talked about, when you say you're in love, it's not all about the mushiness, the feelings, and there must be some serious discussion that must go on. And it is in the place of those serious discussions that you come to a shared value, shared alignment, right? That's what I heard. You get alignments, you have some, okay, this is why we want to go into this. And we begin to build a solid relationship, commitment to one another based on this, and not just based on the feelings. The feelings is like the starting point, but we don't end it there because it can't sustain it. Some serious discussions have to happen. We have to build shared values. And these are the things that would sustain the relationship when the emotions start fluctuating. That is it. That is what I got from that discussion. What you have, your shared values would hold you when the emotions is fluctuating, because there must be a why. What is your why? Why are we here? What do we want to achieve? We have agreed, we are aligned. Okay, is it just these emotions? We'll get back writing. We'll be fine. It won't drain us. Okay, so I come to Miracle.
Sorry, Ololade, before you move on to the next question, I want Odufa to expatiate more on this conversation because it's very important. I work with the divorced community, right? We have divorced men and women, and I told you I was in a meeting with the divorced men before coming in here. And I see it as a general problem that we need to talk about. Even as we talk about love is not enough, what are our shared values and all that. In my interaction with people and with clients, I also know that we all come in with a lot of expectations, believing that we have shared values, even though it was not defined. And I like to have difficult conversations. I don't just want us to talk about the symptoms. I want us to go to the root of some of the challenges. I want to believe most of the people on this call are either married, divorced, or in a relationship. And this show is to educate people. And so when Odufa was talking, she was talking about shared values. Ololade used the word, your why. Why did you go into a relationship? Saying that it will get to a point, the mushiness will stop, will end. Challenges will start showing face. In fact, for some people, it is paying the bills of the wedding day that starts the trouble. Before you know it, the woman is pregnant. She starts acting somehow, and the man becomes agitated that, hey, another person is being added to the family. He needs to work harder and all that. You know, all those things come and they are thrown in our faces. Before we know it, one child, 2 children. Before we know it, school fees. And all this pressure comes in, tend to reduce. And for women, you know, when the man starts tuning off, we feel, oh, maybe he's not loving me again. Oh, maybe something is happening. So I want you to talk about that part of it, to say that in that state, it's not as if there's no more love, but the values we share. You are talking from a place of education because you understand what knowing your value, having a vision, family vision, and all that. You're speaking from that perspective. But can we not assume that everybody on this call understand that? So I want you to break it down. And I think Miracle should also contribute, because this should be the basic, this should be the foundation of this conversation. I yield the mic to you.
All right, thank you so much, Coach Ebo, for expatiating on that and trying to bring some further level of enlightenment into the conversation. And I really get what you mean by when things begin to happen, maybe you just get married and then the pressure of maybe the bills you have not paid, and then then you just get pregnant, you know, and then things just begin to change really fast. And that's why we often beg people to create systems that help them sustain, you know, their relationship. You know, that's where systems come in. And that's where consistent conversation, communication, because sometimes I realize that when these things begin to happen, there's a tendency for some persons to want to withdraw instead of confronting the issue. Let's say maybe on the wedding day or maybe the next day, you're already having quarrels about settlement of the bouquet person or the cake person, and then you let that one slide. And then another issue comes up, you let it, and then you just keep letting things slide. That means you have not established your communication system, because your communication system is what will determine that we must have a conversation about the issues and resolve them. And then we have a communication style. We have how we communicate. We have the atmosphere with which we want to communicate. We have the language with which we want to communicate. You cannot be contentious. You cannot stonewall. You cannot be defensive, and all of those things. So this particular conversation is pretty broad, but it just communicates the fact that the intentionality that goes into relationship. I guess that's the word. The intentionality of ensuring that every gap is closed. So now that you are, and that's why continuous learning too in a relationship is also very important. Giving yourself to, so now that you have a baby, you just got married and you have a baby, if you don't understand the responsibility that comes with a child, you're going to be overwhelmed. But if two of you commit to say, okay, so what can we do to manage this situation? What system within our family can become flexible? Let's say maybe before you got married, you said you were not going to have anybody living with you in your home. You already decided that. But now your wife is pregnant, she's having morning sickness, she can't do anything, and you have to go to work, and then you still expect to come back and meet her. That original agreement may no longer be able to fly. So now you need to revisit that conversation again to say, oh, now that this is happening, maybe your mom needs to come, or whoever maybe the spouse is most comfortable with, that's the person that is going through the issue. And then you decide. So these things, you have to have consistent conversations. So it's not just, that's why I tell you, you said, what do you rely on? And I said shared values. But of course, when situations begin to come up, it begins to press on our emotional maturity. How mature are you? How do you deal with pressure? Because that's why it's love beyond emotions. Because when emotions are heightened, you feel you can go through anything, but the reality sets in and you realize that you don't even have the emotional stability to carry certain situations. And that's why we often tell people, maybe this one now is not for people that are already in marriage. I'm sure maybe Miracle can tell us also, what do you do when you're already in the marriage? Well, I'll say before you get married, there are certain conversations that you need to have and certain things you need to establish, and also create that room for flexibility when things begin to change really fast. So you want to be able to say, beyond our values, what are our beliefs? What do we believe in? That's why it's important that when you want to get married to somebody, you're asking the person, what do you think about marriage? What is marriage to you? And is marriage forever to you, or is marriage something you can just walk out on? Because to align in what you believe about marriage, you also determine your ability to be resilient. Because I realize that in this generation, we're in a generation where people are not as resilient as they should be. People don't have the willpower, to sustain, a relationship as much as it used to be before. Now people tend to want to have a mind of their own. I want to do things on their own. But the important thing is that if you people can agree that marriage is forever, I think even before the relationship, it helps you that even when you are in your highest place of pressure and overwhelmness, you are not thinking of a way out. Because even before you got married, you've already had that conversation that we will be in this no matter what. And two of you are able to journey with that mindset. And so when a child now comes and you're overwhelmed, it's okay, so what do we need to do? Okay, when do we need to bring in a third-party professional to help us, go through this particular stage so we can overcome? Because the truth is, if a couple, they're able to have that constant communication and they're able to walk through a particular kind of pressure, it further strengthens their bond and their resilience and their ability to face the next one. But if when every issue comes, you want to push it to the side and you just want to move on for maybe peace sake, that's how issues begin to pile up until you can no longer, one day somebody is just going to just break loose and decide, I'm done with this, right? So I just hope it's quite a broad conversation, but let's just leave it as it is, yeah.
Absolutely. You have done well. Thank you so much. I love
I love some of the things you brought into it. That clarity is very important. Miracle, do you have something to add to that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, to add to the beautiful things that my learned colleague has already said, I think that the foundation of every relationship, marriage, must be friendship. People must also understand, just like she has rightly said, that love has three. Love is not a feeling, rather. Feelings have three characteristics. Feelings are fugacious, feelings are fleeting, feelings have wings and they fly away. Three of them are basically the same thing. Because the way I feel this evening, for example, might not be the way I'm feeling tomorrow morning. If I make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion, it's going to be a wrong decision. That's why I tell people that if you make a decision based on how you're feeling, you'll be wrong at least 50% of the time. So that's why we must, and if you ask people, for example, if who are divorced, if they still love their partners, if they still have those emotions and those feelings, a lot of them, over 70% of couples would usually say yes. But how come you can't leave? You can't stand this other person? Because it goes beyond feelings. Yes, that's where the concept of love is not enough comes in. To say that love is a very important factor, is a major factor in making a relationship work, but it's not all there is. It's just like if I want to make a stew, for example, I can say the most important ingredient in making a stew is tomatoes, but that's not the only ingredient required to make stew. If I put only tomato on the fire and heat it up, I'm not going to get stew at the end of the day. I will get fried tomato. To make a good stew, I need other ingredients to make it work. It's the same thing with marriage, the same thing with relationships, right? And when it comes to love, for example, there is a feeling of love. There's love, there's a feeling of love, and there's the action or acts of love. People must be able to differentiate these three things. They are not the same thing. Love produces feelings, but love is not a feeling. Yeah. And also, love produces actions, but actions in themselves are not even love. For example, one can give without loving, but it is impossible to love without giving. So if you just see somebody who is giving, you can mistake it and feel like, okay, this person is in love. The person might not be in love, right? Because people can pretend, to be in love and give. Why that doesn't define, their love for the other person. So it's important for us to be able to understand that there are other factors, and one important ingredient, which I said earlier, is friendship. Because it is in friendship that you build communication. It is a friendship you even understand compatibility. When the feelings are not there, can I live with this person? Can we have a conversation? Even when I don't feel, I don't have those butterflies in my tummy. It is important to understand that, okay, when there's friendship and butterflies go out the window, I can still sustain this relationship. It is why a lot of people, even in premarital relationship, change partners like they are changing towel, because I don't love him anymore, like they say. But what they are trying to say in essence is, I don't feel like I love him anymore, right? And because they don't feel that way, they leave that relationship into the next one, except that the next relationship would come with this initial euphoria, but then would fade over time, and you will come to that point where you now need to rely on the foundation of friendship that you have built to keep the relationship or the marriage going. And when that is not in place, then you see yourself leaving the relationship again. So it's important to understand that friendship must be the foundation of every relationship. And yes, when feelings go out the window, we must keep giving the acts of love, because I tell people that the acts of love would always bring back the feelings of love. So when I don't feel like it, I act like it. So it is one of the times where you are allowed to fake it to make it. Yes. So keep giving love, keep giving the acts of love, keep acting like you still feel that way, and the feelings would come back again. So that's what I would say to that.
Beautiful. Wow, that's so deep. Thank you very much. I see you came in with the psychological parts to it, which is very, very beautiful. I love some of the things you said, the 3 parts of love. Love itself, feeling of love, the action of love. And I love the part where you say love is a feeling, but feeling alone is not enough. And so there is a need for the action, the act. And why you also said that act of love brings back the feeling of love. This is where we want our audience to take note of. You're probably not having that euphoria of love anymore. But can we continue in the act of loving, even if you don't feel it, just do something for humanity's sake. And what that is doing is rewiring and reconditioning the mind such that it calls the feeling back. And before you know it, just discover that you have that feeling. Thank you very much, Miracle, for that. I really appreciate it. And thank you once again, Odufa. Ololade, I yield the mic to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So much light that we are gleaning from today. So for the married, for the singles, for the divorced that's still hopeful of, marriage can still happen. There's always a second chance, but you want to do things differently. I hope you're listening attentively and you're committed to do things differently. It's not about the emotions. We've talked about friendship. We've talked about, okay, so Odufa said something that struck me and I marked down was the consistent conversation, not leaving room for assumptions, not leaving room for gaps. Always, as in, don't leave that communication gap. But I really wanted to touch on not just conversation, but effective conversations, because there are 1001 ways to say things. And from what she said, it's very clear, but because like Dr. Ebu said earlier, some of us here, because we have had the opportunity to go through FSCE, we understand certain things beyond an ordinary person out there. So saying consistent conversation does not mean we are talking, but we are not talking. We are talking, but hearing. That's no communication. And when that is there, really what you're trying to build may not be built. Oftentimes you cannot penetrate the other person if there is no mechanism for effective communication. And that would bring me to my next question. And I think I'm directing this first to Miracle. So what are those structures that couples should put in place? If we say feelings is not enough, emotions is not enough, build effective communication, consistent conversation, what is this structure? How can they put it in place when it comes to love and family? If you can give us some examples, we may not be able to exhaust everything here. If you can give us examples, and Odufa would also throw some light on this, on the invisible structures that couples need to put in place to sustain. We are trying to put a system in place to sustain the love. The love is there, but the feeling is not what sustains it. Now we want to replace that. We are not replacing the feelings. We want to put system that would help the feelings that will sustain the love. Because we have said once it flies out, there are certain acts of love you would still have to do. And once that is done, or when we do that, the feelings will find its way back. So I yield the mic to Miracle. What are the invisible structures that you can advise couples to put in place to protect their relationship and sustain their love?
Yes, okay. Thank you very much for that question. So just like you've rightly said, I like to put it this way, that there is the art of marriage of relationship and there's a science of relationship and marriage. The art is the romance. The art is the butterflies. The art is, the cute date nights. All of those things are the art of marriage, and it's really beautiful. It's all what we post on social media, mushy moments. But then there is a science of marriage. There's a science of relationship, and that's where the work is, and that's what a lot of people are not willing to do, right? And that's where a lot of single people need to understand that that's what really sustains a relationship or marriage. It is a science. So saying that there's a system that has been studied over time as to how relationships can be sustained, how marriages can be sustained. Yeah. I remember, I think it was even PF who was saying it one time about how they interviewed about 40 people who had been married for about 40 years. And this research has been done across board, right? And there are certain things that has been seen, right? And those are things that we can learn from and then also implement in our marriages. For example, it has been discovered that almost every couple who has been married for over 40 years have some sort of what is called date nights. Now, it might not be typical date nights of, going somewhere, or having candles lit up, but they have a system where they decompress and, just distress, maybe weekly or monthly, or some sort of plan or structure or system that helps them do that. Now, it only takes deductive reasoning to say, if almost every couple that's been married for 40 years has done this, it must mean that this is one of the things that most likely sustains marriage, right? So we can extend that to also be a conflict resolution system where everybody has an opportunity to air their opinion, because one of the reasons marriages and relationships break is actually unresolved conflicts. And unresolved conflicts emanate from unresolved emotions. When emotions have not been resolved over time, they pile up, and then that's where you hear things like, oh, I didn't like the fact that he pierced the toothpaste from the top, and she said, why would you press it from the bottom? And let's go our separate ways. You hear those kind of stories because they are piled up emotions and unresolved conflicts over time. When you get to that point, everybody begins to walk on eggshells, because everybody in that marriage or relationship is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. So it's important, for example, to institute a conflict resolution system. It's one of the things that must be instituted in a marriage or in a relationship if that relationship would last the test, or pass the test of time, rather. Another system which is very much related to that is a communication system, to say, how are we going to communicate? How are we going to speak? How often are we going to communicate? What are the modes of communication we are going to use, and all of that? That must be in place as well. We must also have what we call in FSC the governance system. The governance system is a system where there's a clear-cut vision, where there's a clear-cut purpose or mission of the marriage, where there are clear-cut values that everybody within the marriage is bound to. So it doesn't matter how I feel, there's a vision we are working towards. A clear example that comes to mind is Bill and Hillary Clinton. What happened in their marriage with Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton was enough to destroy an average marriage. But why did he not destroy that particular marriage? It was most likely because there was a shared vision, mission, and shared values that bound them beyond that event, singular event or incidents that happened. So the vision superseded that singular event, and they stuck with the vision they had as a family or as a couple, and that was what kept them going. And we could see how it played out many years after, when Hillary Clinton also, wanted to become the president of the United States of America. So that is another system that everybody must have, to say, what is our common vision in this marriage, in this family? What is our mission? What are our values? What are the things that are going to drive our lifestyle, our attitudes, our character, and our behavior? I think I might need to stop here because of time, so I don't, I give my learned colleague the opportunity to say something as well.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Erica. That was quite insightful. You know, it's important to have structure. He's talked about having conflict resolution, vision, what's the vision that is driving this family, the science of love, not the art of love, but the science of love. What's the vision? What are the guiding principles? Our constitution, how do we resolve conflict? How do we move on? Thank you so much. So I yield the mic to Odofa to give us our insight on this.
All right, thank you so much.
So Odofa, please, before you say anything, I just want to ask that in contributing to this, I want you to speak with the mindset of some people are here, they're in their 10 years of marriage, 15 years of marriage, and they don't have the structure in place. Is it too late for them? What can they do to do this? Thank you.
All right, so for the people that are here and you are hearing Miracle say communication system, governing system, and all of those things, like, but I don't have any system, as you know, we've been married now for 10 years and no system. Anytime, there's something they used to say, I can't remember it now. I think they say anytime your day break, that's where your day starts.
Your morning.
Yeah, that's your morning.
Morning. So when you come into, and that's why meetings like this are good, because it brings you into a place of awareness, and then awareness leads you into action. So when you now begin to hear structure, you now want to go back and say, okay, we need to have a conversation. Let's say maybe you're here alone and your spouse is not here. You have to start thinking of how you want to present this conversation to your spouse, knowing the person that you are married to, because there are sometimes that you may learn something and you go to your spouse and you're like, oh, and the person cannot even relate to what you're saying or is trying to push it aside and all of that. But if you are lucky and you have a spouse who is reasonable, who wants to see things work, who is teachable, who really wants to put in the work, you just need to go back. Going back to create a structure starts from, you just start from, why did we get married in the first place? Or you can also seek a professional counselor or someone to guide you through, right? Because of course you're in the midst of professionals. You can always reach out to Coach Ebo or Ololade, you know, they can guide you through building systems, because building system, of course, will begin first by determining your belief system, your beliefs alignment. What do you believe? I will always say, because you can't create a system in the absence of aligned perspectives. Like you can date night, and the person, their beliefs, they didn't, let's just say, you know, that maybe they've never, you just get married and just carry, what do you want me to be going out and be doing dates? You know, are we babies? You know, those kinds of conversations that people have, you know. So if you don't, if you're not aligned in your beliefs that dating is important, it becomes difficult to create a system of playing. And then let's say you are, your love language is quality time, and your spouse language is acts of service. And then you are telling that person that, let's spend time together. That one is like, go and bring, God, help me, assist me, you know, those kind of things. So you have to put all those things into perspective. So if you want to begin to create structure, you have to go back to what are our beliefs about leadership, about superiority, about decision making, and you just begin to evaluate from there. Why did we get married in the first place? You begin to talk about the kind of family you want to build, the kind of 10 years from now, what kind of family do you want to be? What legacy do you want to leave behind? You begin to structure your family from there. And then you can now begin, and then you begin to have an understanding of each other, because another thing that helps with systems is the behavior of the people within the system. Because if you, maybe your personality type, like I'm a creative convertible, sometimes I don't like rules and regulations, you know, system. I just want to be free, you know. And then you're married to someone who is like actually a systems person, and the person wants to actually follow through on this structure, you know, it now brings you have to now come to a place of understanding. So you're not making it personal. You just say, okay, this person is not really a structured person. So how do we make this structure thing fun for the person? And maybe you're saying, oh, I'm not a go-getter kind of personality, you know, how do I make How do I bring myself? What core strengths do I need to put in to now begin to work within this system? So those are the kinds of things you want to be considering. And sometimes you cannot create a structure all on your own. Sometimes it's not a do-it-yourself kind of engagement, because you may not be able to cover every aspect that requires structure, because you can just go now and say you want to go and create a structure, and you borrow another family structure, and you have borrowed a culture, you have borrowed a system, you have borrowed a way of life that doesn't really align to the beliefs of you and your own spouse, that does not align to your personalities. So it's very important that you check all of these things before you even begin to talk about, how do we want to communicate? Because when you create a communication system, too, you want to also consider the person's communication style, because some personalities are confrontational, some personalities are like to withdraw. So you have to also determine all of that, because your understanding of each other and your perspectives will really help you to navigate through even the systems. Let's say one person misses, like, let's say, okay, let me not use date night again. Let's say someone did not remit all of maybe you have a particular amount of money that each of you are supposed to bring at the end of the month from your salary, and one person doesn't fulfill maybe they just brought out small, and they now start explaining to you that they gave it out, somebody was in need and all of that. Because you are aware that your spouse has this tendency to want to be there for people, is probably like a dependable person that likes to be there for people. You're not all busting out and saying, but this is the system that we have created to increase our financial, state and all of that. But you're in a place, you are aware. You are not just self-aware, you are partner aware that this person is not really, like, this person is actually generous. And so you need to now come back to the table and say, that's why I said systems will be flexible. You cannot come back and say, okay, I know we said that this is the amount of money that we're going to be putting away. Okay, maybe it's because we don't have a charity, bucket, for our relationship, because that's also a financial system. You're saying this is the amount of money we give to family, this is the amount of money we spend for children, this is what we spend for entertainment, and you're now saying, oh, we need to now create a budget for generosity, so that once this money is finished, and start helping your spouse to see the overall picture, the overall goal. So working within systems really comes with a lot of understanding of the people that are involved in. So if you want to create a structure, make sure you have an understanding of who you are and who your partner is, and then you begin to build your structures from there in a way that nobody feels overwhelmed. Because sometimes systems can be overwhelming, and you don't want to underestimate that. Sometimes some people see systems as boring. They begin to get bored within the relationship because everything is rules. And then some people get, agitated because they feel like this person just wants to go with the wind, as in wild, and just do whatever it is that they want to do. So it's very important that when you're considering building systems and structures, you consider, yourselves, the people involved in the relationship, so that you are not overwhelmed by the systems that you have created to lead. Because you created a system because you have a destination. You want to sustain the bliss, of your relationship. So never forget that the people within the system are as important as the system itself. So don't let the system override you. Find a way to control and navigate through the system. And don't be forceful, through it. Don't feel like the structure. See, it takes years to create a structure within a home. It takes years. It's not overnight. So before you know, you've solidified your leadership structure. When you're finishing leadership, you realize, our finances, and then you begin to look at finance. And sometimes it's good to look at the particular system or structure that you need the most in that moment. It's just like I'm saying right now, we need to check on our domestic of anybody, but you're focusing on, I'm the one that makes the final decision. I'm the decision maker, because that's another system. So what's our system of making decisions? Do we talk to each other, or is one person allowed? So there are so many systems, and if we begin to list all of the systems you need to create within your family, it can just be overwhelming. But just realize that however way you are doing it, don't allow yourself to be, as though you are being put in a box, or you are overburdening yourself, so to speak. All right, so things like that. So even in creating system, you also want to think about the long-term achievement, right? Even for the person that may feel like it's overwhelming, you always want to put the big picture ahead of you, like what do we want to achieve with this? So you don't feel like the other spouse is being, too much, because we live in a world where if you really don't have systems, the system out there will consume you. Because some people say, but in our parents' time, they did. Why is it that there are so many coaches? Everybody wants to talk about relationship. In our parents' time, they were able to do this. I'm telling you today that things are not the way they used to be. People are not as resilient, enduring as they used to be. And there is so many information out there that if you're not intentional about seeking the right information, feeding yourself with the right information, you will borrow the lifestyle, the intent, and the decisions of other people, and it will begin to control your own relationship. So I think that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you very much. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much, Odufa and Miracle, for responding to that question intelligently. I see Sonia says the truth is, even folks without system already have unspoken or unnamed system their relationship operates on.
Yeah.
We turn them into a structure when we name them, clarify them, and agree. Thank you very much. That is so, so true. We might have people even in this room who already have something going for them, but they have not been able, they didn't name it. So you just want to sit down and name it, clarify it, and put it into a structure. Very, very important. So that Odufa said something towards as she was rounding up. The system outside is so intentional and can be very choking that if care is not taken, it takes you off guard, takes you off balance. And so your system at home needs to be strong. So please name it, clarify, discuss it before the children grow and things outside start entering into them, because there's no structure in place. The essence of all this is for us to have a structure that works. And yes, Odufa said something about reaching out to people, professional counselors. Everybody here are professional counselors. And towards the end of this session, we're going to be dropping I love money. Phone numbers where you can reach out. Please feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out to professional counselors so that they can help you. The truth of the matter is we have all found ourselves in a society, in a world where even we don't understand what will happen next. And so you need to speak with people who have been trained and prepared for the world that we are going into. Thank you so much, Moses Afolabi, for writing out the punchlines. It just shows that you are following, and I really appreciate it. And I want to celebrate you because we don't really have men come out to do this thing we're doing. It shows that it's entering and it's sinking, and I celebrate you. I celebrate you. I celebrate you for that. Thank you very much. And Femi Boro, I thought I was the only one that heard the self-aware. There's partner-aware. They say we should not be self-aware again. They say there's something like partner-aware. Coach Doofy, thank you. Thank you for that. So please don't let us be self-aware alone. We need to be partner-aware. Thank you so much. Ololade, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Miracle and Odufa, for that. While Odufa was speaking, something very important that I just want to reiterate, she mentioned about systems can be overwhelming. Do it one step at a time. What serves you per season, and you gradually build. You gradually build one block on the other, one block on the other. Today, we want to focus on financial transparency. Our finances is what it is. We don't have to say, oh, because we have come here today and so much has been said, we want to jump on it right there. At the end of the day, it might not be practicable, and give yourself a pat on the back when you're able to, have that conversation and you're able to take one step in the right direction. And also, Dr. Ebun said, so many information out there. If you don't stand, I usually say this to myself, Ololade, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And that is the situation that we are in now. If you don't have your own values, if you don't have your vision, what your goal in marriage or in building a family, everything will look like it. Every social media post, every intentional parenting post, every will look like it, and you begin to take it in. And at the end of the day, you will not be able to build anything. So you will fall for anything. And it goes as deep as even within your family. I mean, your extended families, your siblings, your extended. If you don't stand for something, your sister, your brother is doing something that looks right, you want to copy it. Another one is doing, a friend is doing, you want to. That is because you don't have a system in place. At the end of the day, you are not only confused, but you're leaving the children also confused. And they're wondering, which way? So, and that brings me to this question, which touches on our children. You know, we've touched on the love structure, putting structure in place, system, emotions are not enough, we can sustain it this way. But you know that a family is not a family is a man and a woman, you come together, whether there is child or not, you are a family. But the child or the children, they are very important component or very important personality. Very important personality. I'm echoing. Where's that coming from? I can hear myself. Is it better now? Can anyone still hear a feedback? Okay, so
we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So it's important that in all of this that we're saying, like we have said, don't be self-focused, be partner-focused. I've taken that because even Bible says that love is not self-seeking. So it should not be just about you. You should also be partner-focused. Be aware of your partner. Be self-aware. Also, we need to be child or children aware. We must place importance because they are learning from us. And this brings me to say, how does inconsistency between parents, you know, inconsistency in the show of love or structure, how does it affect the child's sense of security? And that question, I think I'll go for Odufer on this. How does it affect a child's security?
All right, thank you for that question. Sorry, can you come again? Let me just get the...
I said, how does the inconsistency between parents, how does it affect a child's sense of security?
All right, it does affect the child's sense of security because when you are inconsistent.
I knew my children to the extent that if she had done anything.
But I don't know that is okay. All right. So it does affect their security because children find safety in structure, right? They find safety in structure. Whether you know it or not, you may think a child is too small to understand until you begin to have teenagers and you begin to have children that can actually engage you in conversations. So on the long run, when there are inconsistencies, like in the way we show love to one another, in the way we appreciate, maybe let's say you are living within feelings every time you don't, maybe, because I want to just be using some examples that we can relate with. You know, let's say that every time mommy is angry, she leaves the house. You know, every time mommy is angry, she leaves the house. Or anytime daddy is angry, he does not eat at the dining. Meanwhile, you have a system that says we eat on the dining together. But anytime daddy is upset, he breaks that rule and he doesn't come to eat with the kids. It begins to send a message to the children that nothing is consistent, you know, and that you do everything that you do based on how you feel. So you are not meant to be accountable even within a system, right? And it begins to create some level of insecurity where the child feels like, so if anything happens, mom is just going to leave us, you know, with daddy. or probably she will take us, maybe she even goes as far as taking the children out, just to be able to leave, the husband, things like that. Of course, it will create a sense of insecurity. It may not really be established that is a sense of insecurity at the moment, but by the time they begin to make certain decisions on their own, by the time they begin to do life on their own, it begins to show that these children have some level of insecurity, because insecurity shows up when your child doesn't have the ability to even make decisions on their own, as in they are easily influenced by their peers, and that kind of action that gets towards insecurity is coming from you, the parent, you have established that it's okay to just go on your feelings and do whatever you want, that when somebody does something, you are free to leave the house. When somebody does something, you are free not to want to interact with the person. You are free to be malicious and all of that. And it creates that sense of, they don't feel like they belong, within, your space. So they're not, it's as if they're not even being considered, right? So it creates that sense of insecurity, that sense of worth, like, what am I worth to my parents, that even when they have issues, they cannot consider me, and that's why it's so heartbreaking when you see, especially in an abusive relationship, where where one person is beating another in front of a child, right? You don't know the kind of mindset you begin to build within that child. You are telling the child that love means you beat, especially when the other spouse that is on the receiving end is defending the action, of the other one. You're telling the child that, oh, if you love someone, you beat the person to correct them, and things like that. So all those inconsistencies, can begin to create some sense of instability within the child, and the child begins to feel insecure, in different ways. Even inconsistencies, not even with the parents, where you say, oh, we don't watch TV in this house from morning until 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock, but sometimes just like, oh yeah, go and watch, all those kinds of things. It begins to create a lot of inconsistencies within the child, because they're like, okay, so it's okay to break rules sometimes, and you don't explain. Except you say, oh, okay, so I'm having this and this, so you can watch for this period of time, because I just want some space to be able to do some work. You don't explain, but maybe you just like, just go and watch. You're telling the child that we can break the rules whenever we want to fit, our feelings or our emotion or our space. So all those inconsistency doesn't really help the child, because remember that when a child is growing up with you, you are forming their belief system, you are forming their values, you are forming their attitude. These are piling up, and it begins to show up, when they begin to have the ability to make choices and decisions. You now see how your own actions as a parent has affected how they show up to their world. So let's not feel like when we are not consistent with the things that we do, it doesn't affect our children. It does actually build some kind of, mental programming within them, that they feel like, oh, these are the way things, should be done. Even the good systems, right? The good ones that you're like, your mom, you always see your mom serving your dad, and you too, you just feel like that is how it is. So let's know that systems also affect the way a child, shows up to their world ultimately. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. One major thing is consistency. She's talked about, even when you have the system in place, I'm taking it from the positive first. Okay. Even when you have the system in place, you must be consistent with children. There is no, today we do it this way, tomorrow, without explanation, we relax. Children they can be easily confused. They can be easily confused. Then parents, today they see you lovey-dovey, daddy comes home, he hugs mommy. Tomorrow daddy comes home, mommy's shouting, mommy's yelling, because there is a conflict, and we don't have like a conflict resolution in place. And the next thing we're doing, and they feel, oh, that's okay. It's all part of love. They have this confusion in their head that they carry it into adulthood. You see some adults, particularly women, who believe that if the man truly loves me, he should beat me. Some people believe that if we say we are in love, we should argue, we should fight. and like she said, children from their beliefs, the mindset, from what they see, not what the storybook they are reading, not what they are being told, but what they see primarily from their parents. And I'm going to be asking the same question. I'm throwing it to Mr. Miracle, but I just want to put a twist to it in a bit, because we understand in the family house that we have diverse family system here. We have the typical traditional family here, mommy and daddy living together, the children are looking up to you, they're seeing what is going on. We have the ones that are divorced, and we have the ones that were never married, but you know, there is still a child in this equation. And as much, we want to give these children, you know, a structure that they can work with, they can become a better version of who they are and be a whole person to the society. So how do we mirror love from the place of a blended home, a diverse home, a child that is being raised from two separate homes? How can parents mirror love and give them security?
Sorry, before Miracle responds to that question, I just want to bring the conversation you touched on and Odufa touched on, because we kept saying the children are watching and all that. I just want to bring it home to the fact that you as adults, and I'm talking, when I say you, I mean everybody in this room, think about it. There was something you picked from your parents. In fact, some of us growing up will say, I would never be like my mom. I don't want to be like my mom, or I don't want to be like my dad. But if you check your life right now, you would see that you're doing that same thing. And that is how powerful conditioning is. They're watching, they are looking. You watched, and some of the things you're doing now that you don't even like, there's a result of the things you picked from your parents. So if we start seeing it that way, probably that will help us in the way we relate and the things we do that will affect our children. So let us be child sensitive in decision making. Thank you. So Miracle, up to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. And it's a really sensitive because, you know, parents from blended homes definitely don't want their children to maybe end up the way that that particular marriage has ended. So they would rather that their children have stay married, get married and stay married, as the case may be. So it could be very dicey in trying to mirror love, but it's very much possible. And one of the ways they want to do this is through emotional safety. They need to let their children understand that despite the separation or the situation of the blended family system that exists, you are still safe emotionally. And that's why it's very important that whatever personal issues couples are having, you know, in blended families or even in the traditional conventional families, you should, as much as possible, you know, not emit those toxic traits and toxic situations in front of your children. You must shield them from those things so that they don't begin to see what is abnormal as normal, because that's how many children grow up and then become or begin to see dysfunction as normal, where they, even though they are in relationship, they're going to relationship themselves, they want to create a dysfunctional environment to feel normal. And I don't know if you've seen people like that who can only function in abnormality. They can only function in their functionality. When things are going well, they malfunction. But when things get really crazy and toxic, that's where you see the best of them. And if you trace a lot of those people, you realize that they come from dysfunctional homes themselves where these things were modeled. And that's why modeling is an important and integral part of parenting, because children will do what they see more than what they hear. Social learning is the primary way children learn. It is not, that's why, have you noticed, for example, that the children of teachers seem to be academically sound? They read effortlessly and naturally. You know why? Because they see their parents read every day. They see their parents engage in academic work. So it will take little, or or even to take very little coaching or talking here and there for them to get serious with their academics. It will be a heckling task to tell and encourage your child to read when he or she has never seen you read. It will be it is much easier when they see that my dad reads, my mom reads, and it's something that I should also do. So it's very important to do that. And then it's also important to mirror love through predictable channels or presence in that sense. Because in blended families, it most likely means that one parent would maybe be more present than the other, because the children will live with one parent, and then the other one would maybe have access to them from time to time. So it's important that as the parent who is not available, who is not the one who lives with the children, who the children lives with, in that sense, you are not scarce. You do not elope and say, after all, the children are not with me. You make sure that that gap is actually bridged, and you see them as often as possible, so that you don't, even though you are absent, you don't become an absentee father or an absentee mother. Yes. So you can be absent and not be an absentee mother or absentee father by making sure that you show up from time to time, and they know what you look like. They know, how you handle situations, and they can be, your voice can exist in their life as they grow up. It's very, very important, right? So these are some of the ways that we must do this, because if you are not careful, children can pick on the little details, and then it can begin to affect how they form even attachment styles as they grow up. Yeah, and if we are not careful, children can, that's how a lot of people become avoidant or become anxious or even become disorganized, as the case may be. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. You're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you. I just realized that. Didn't realize I was muted. Thank you so much on that, Mr. Miracle. It's talked about how co-parenting, how you can co-parent, how you can avoid being an absentee, even though you're not present. But I would also just like to add one or two things to what he has said. We're talking about the inconsistency between parents, how it forms the foundation, or how it can affect the child's security. And as much as sometimes we have a situation, I know that we may have one or two people where they have good co-parenting existence, and there are some that, and it's okay. You can't control the other side, but you can control your side. So it's important that when the child, yes, goes to the other side, comes back, you see, give them, first of all, give your child an avenue to be open with you. They can discuss anything and everything with you. And you must also ensure that in that discussion and in ensuring that you're creating stability for your children and letting them see love from the real sense or lenses of love, what love should be, not what it's happening in your family, you must let them know that that is not the ideal, but we love the unlovable. We extend grace. So daddy or mommy may have done this way, does not mean that is what it is. And that I come to say that it's also important that we have other, like father figures or mother figures, role models who have the right values that aligns with our value, that they can see in the real sense of it, that this is what it is. This is what it should look like. And when the other party, when there's still a bit of friction or is toxic, the one party should be able to give that child or the children stability, to let them know that even in our differences, even if daddy is acting this way, mommy is acting this way, this is what it should be. And you extend grace. You don't talk down about your partner in the presence of your children. Children don't just listen to what you say. They read your mood, they read your emotions. So when they mention the other parents, when they mention them around you, they sense your body language. They hear the unspoken words. They hear the sigh, like, psh. So you must be, and that's where you begin to confuse them. So you must be able to be that parent. Take that child, put that child in front of you, and take yourself away from your hurt and your bitterness or your differences with the other party, and begin to build solid ground, solid seed in that child. If they go and they come back and say, oh, mommy, what you said is different from, oh, that's fine. Daddy's perspective and mommy's perspective may not be the same, but this is what it is. Oh, that is not totally wrong, but this is it. You don't, you know, in that way, we begin to give them the kind of security and sense of, oh, okay, so I see uncle this, I see a perfect family picture, and they're able to understand from what mommy have said, okay, this, okay, I can extend grace. They begin to learn how to extend grace to people. Let's not take the conversation further than that. I believe that.
As you were speaking, I just wanted to say something, because I just gathered from what you said now that means the stability and the security of the child begins with the stability and the security of the individuals involved in the relationship. And also, for you to be able to create a healthy system for a child within a blended family is largely dependent on the individuals that are involved in creating that system, their ability to agree, their ability to align in how they want to parent. And if you are lucky and you have a partner that is willing to align in your beliefs as a parent, and both of you are able to see the quality of life you want to give that child, it's easier to work, with that person. And then if you are with a partner that is unreasonable, probably hates you, something, and you want to do, the solo runs, it means that even yourself, you need some guidance and some help. That's why Coach Ebon has things like Sunshine, I think, or that's what she calls it, because you too need some level of stability and a system that helps you control the system, that you want to create for the child. So there are so many things that you as a parent, you have to do, knowing the quality of life that you want that child to have. So whether you have a partner that is as intentional as you, well done, that's awesome. You now build out of your individual beliefs and all of that. And then if you don't have that, you actually need some help. You need someone to guide you, because it's easy to say, oh, I want to build my child like this, so I'm not going to say anything bad about my husband or my ex to the person. But sometimes, that feeling, I'm not in that place, but I see interpersonal experience more, but sometimes the feeling can be so overwhelming, especially maybe you're not even the person that caused the issue or whatever, and then you don't know how to behave, within you really want to not say anything bad, about the person, but you really need a lot of people. That's why you need assistance. You can't do it by yourself. So it takes, I think, for the person that is tending to do it alone, it takes a village to find a community,
find a tribe.
Find a tribe that can help you achieve what you want and prioritize what you see for that child, so that it can give you the willpower to put in the work. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
We're emphasizing on finding a tribe. We are not saying find a social media tribe, please. There's so much out there that it would be counterproductive. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ololade. It's been a beautiful conversation so far. Thank you, Sonia. I see that beautiful example you just gave in the chat session. And the truth of the matter is the children can see. They know what is going on. They might not have the right words to describe it, but by the time they grow older, that's why we have instances where a woman will claim that she has labored in bringing up a child. And by the time the child grows up, become a teenager, like adult, and the child just prefers daddy. You get, and you're like, but I'm the one that have been working. I took care of you and all that. Guys, it's still the same thing. Love is not enough. What are the acts that we are bringing into it? The action that we are bringing into it? How are we doing it? What are you saying? These children can see. And you know, I said something the other time. We as adults, you and I, we are products of a system. So if you don't like some things about the way you were raised or how you grew up, please work on it. Don't pass it down. Later, I would be saying it's generational cause. There's no generational cause anywhere. I said it. Yes, I said it. There's no generational cause. It is just ignorance and mediocrity that we pass down, that has been passed down from generation to generation. And you want to break with that in your lineage. So there's some family, there are some couple here that might be here who they are not together. They are living in the same house, but they are not agreeing. This is for you. We're saying that first love, it's not that it is dead. The love is still there. It's just that life has happened. Things are happening and going around. Can we remember the reason why we got married? And can we have that communication? Can we sit down to talk about it? A lot of the summaries of this conversation has been dropped in the chat. And please, you will be doing yourself a good service by copying them and taking time. This is on YouTube. And so admin, please drop the link to YouTube so that people can rewatch. I see an anonymous question being sent to me. How do you convince a spouse who loves God, believes in same scripture, and has fantastic values, but does not believe or act intentionally in naming the systems? Miracle, do you want to respond to that? How do you convince a spouse who loves God? We said the person is good spiritually, believes in Bible, but this value that we are talking about does not believe or act intentionally in naming the systems. Yes, Miracle.
The person loves God, but then doesn't believe in the values that we shared, or we're talking about. Well, okay. What then does a person believe would be the question. And what is
God?
What is
God and Bible?
Yeah, because the God of the Bible actually supports the things that we're talking about. So I don't know the God the person is talking about.
God
really.
of the Bible even operates in principles.
So, yeah, and I know that there are people like that who can be very religious, fixated in the way they think and dogmatic in the way they process things, and it can really be difficult to relate with such people or even try to convince them. Right? But really, one of the things that you can do is to bypass their conscious resistance. Now, for such a person who is religious, one way to get through to that person would be through religion. Yeah. To say that if there is somebody who the person defers to in his faith, then somebody he listens to, then that can be an avenue to reach that person. especially if that person believes in the things that we are sharing or we have shared. So it will be easier for that person to call them to order and say, okay, the way you are doing things might not be the most appropriate way, or how you're seeing things might not be all there is to see. And then they can now begin to change their mind, right? And of course, another thing you can do is to pray for the person that whatever God they believe in would actually soften their hearts and get through to them to see that really what they are doing and the path they are towing is the wrong one.
Odufa, do you want to bring the feminine part of, because reading that question in my head, I'm thinking, what method are you using to talk about this? Because
so
that can also bring resistance.
Yeah, this question is very dicey and has many layers to it in terms of, you have to also consider how you want to influence the change that you want to see, and sometimes when you have understanding, the kind of person that you are married to, it's even good that you know that the person believes in God, but the person is not willing to name these systems. That's what, you said, right? But when you want to present your case, it's not about nagging and, we need to, it's about trying to see how you two can live out these systems in a way that when they see some progress and some changes, maybe they may tilt, towards what you are doing, right? But in a situation where this person never sees the light and comes into the system, you're trying to create, right? You can actually create a system. Let's say maybe you're talking about your relationship. Maybe that one I don't really know how we can really assist in that situation. But we always say have a coping mechanism when the person is not really maybe to do date nights or communicate, and all of that. And then you begin to find a way to just communicate and to cope within the relationship. But there are some systems that can be within your control to some extent, like your parenting system, right? When you know that, okay, these are the kind of children I want to raise, and you begin to create a system around that, even if the person breaks that system once in a while, but you know what you want to achieve, you just keep on being consistent in the areas that you want to, create those systems in, right? And just find a way to just, while you are praying and trusting God that the person will see the light of day. I also want to advise that you don't get overwhelmed or frustrated, with what the person is doing, because there's a way we want someone to do something, and because we insist that they should, be a certain way, we ourselves, we become, because we are not protecting ourselves, we just now become emotionally unstable, and we're just all over the place. And before you know, we're saying, I've lost my sense of self. I lost myself in a marriage. But it's important that you try to protect your mental space, because sometimes insisting on changing someone or a person's behavior is not today, because that behavior is coming from somewhere. What you are seeing is just an expression, is a fruit. There's a root cause. There's a reason why that person is so religious, to that extent. There's a reason why that person is not giving to systems, because probably feels his parents or her parents did not do systems and they were able to survive or whatever, or we don't need all of those things. We can just, so there's a reason why that person is not adapting to that style or whatever it is that you want to person. And you have to understand that. You have to understand that people are the way that they are, so that you don't, because no, I see it a lot where some spouses want a particular kind of change, and because they are not getting it, they themselves begin to lose themselves, become overwhelmed, agitated, and let's just find a way to be able to cope within a system that is not really favorable to us to some extent, so that when the person now sees the light of day and now wants to come and meet you, you've not checked out emotionally, and you cannot be found in yourself. So while you are trying to do that, just also know that a person's behavior sometimes is not within your control. So don't think that there's something that you can say, or, the more you say it, or the more aggressively you say it, or the more you say it in anger, maybe one day the person would finally, come into what you are saying. So you just have to try to cope within the situation. But again, you want to look at it, but does the person have some kind of structure and system, but just that the person doesn't really say this is what it is? Does the person do you still go out, but you don't call it like date nights? It's not like you have not put it in a name like a routine. Does the person buy things for you, or does the person actually shall do things? Because if we come, we can say many things here in this open space, but by the time we come and sit down with the both of you, you could even realize that the person even is running on certain systems and structure, but you don't even really know it because you feel like we have to actually name what exactly it is. The person could even be very good at managing finances. That person is very good in that system, but it doesn't call it that, right? But you don't see that because there are other areas that you feel the person is not doing what you want or you feel needs to be done. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. That's a very beautiful way to end it. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, Odufaboro and Miracle. What?
And I just one sentence.
Yes, please.
Somebody,
yes, please.
Yeah. That's a lesson for those who are not married. Don't marry what you cannot live with. That's really what I want.
That's a deep one. Don't marry what you cannot deal with. That's a very deep one. Don't marry what you cannot deal with. Ensure that your values. Clock it. Ensure that your values and everything aligns. Thank you very much, Odufa. Thank you, Miracle. It's been a beautiful, beautiful session today. Guys, what do you have to say to our guests? Admin, I want you to, admin has dropped the link to the replay of this meeting. It's on YouTube. Please feel free to share with your family and loved ones. And yes, we talked about talking to professionals. And at this point, I want the admin to drop the office number. And if you think you want to speak with any of our guests, including Ololade, my co-host, and myself, please, Odufa, could you please drop your contact, how you want them to see? You don't want anybody to go violate your privacy, whatever, but then whatever, in any avenue, is it phone, is it WhatsApp, is it Instagram, please drop. Yes, the admin has also dropped the office number if you need help in structuring your relationship, if you need marital checkup, if you think your relationship is becoming overwhelming. Remember how we started this conversation. And this is just for you to know that the drama is not enough. It's just for you to know. Can you see everything we have touched on? That if there is no act of love, there's no way you can sustain all this. It's a lot. Marriage is, it's a lot. Marriage is a lot. And you need to know how to handle it. So it's been a beautiful one. And thank you very much, Ololade Idowu Adegoke. You've been an amazing co-host, and I enjoy the session with you. Please, you want to round up the meeting?
Thank you so much, Dr. Ebon. It's been an honor hosting this family meeting with you today. Mr. Miracle and Odufa, thank you. You've done justice to the topic, and I'm sure that our guests here tonight, there is a time well spent for them, and I know that they're going back to the drawing board. They have one or two things to go and, realign. That consistent conversation must happen. It has to keep happening. And we must put that foundation for those children, because we're going to live. We're going to change the pattern. We're changing the narrative. It's no longer generational curse, generational pattern. We are giving them generational wealth. They are thriving. That's what we are set to do. We are changing the culture. We are shifting it. And I'm saying thank you to everyone who has been with us from the beginning of this meeting up until now. I believe that is time well spent. Like Dr. Agbo said, if you need to reach out to any, you need assistance and you need to reach out to any professional, you feel free to reach out to any one of us here. We will be glad to help. We are here for one another. It's our joy to see each family thriving and enjoying marital bliss. This is why we are here. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of the, is it day? It's no longer day. Okay, wherever you are. Whether day or night.
And we look forward to having you in the month of March for the March edition. The month of March is when we celebrate the International Women's Day. And we're going to be having amazing guests in our midst. We're going to have other different events for that day, starting from March 8th, which is the International Women's Day. Thank you very much, everyone. We love and celebrate you. See you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Coach Ebun. Thank you, Ololade. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Bye.